Welcome G. Let's start Java tutorial. Today I'm going to discuss about the Java reflection API. What are the use of reflection API? And first let's try to the understand try to get the clarifications key. What are the use case of the reflections and what are the drawback, and then also discuss how, if you want to use the reflection API, what are the way we can use. Reflection is commonly used by the programmer, which require the ability to examine or modify the runtime behavior of your Java application. Okay, so this is relatively advanced feature and should be used only by the developer who have a strong knowledge, fundamental about the language. Okay, so this is reflection API is designed for the developer who have a sound and a good knowledge of as a Java language, and so that the reflection is a powerful technique and can be enable application to perform operation which would otherwise impossible using the normal app. The some operations generally we as a developer, normal developer, we cannot perform on the Java application side, but the reflection offer us some kind of advanced the capability which a developer can perform. So reflections is the simply have a kind of a offer a place, a ability, a technique through which at the runtime you can examine and modify the behavior of your applications. So this is the you can say major use when you want, while running application at that time you want to examine. What do you examine means? You are trying to figure out the particular class structures, what are the method, what are the constructor, what kind of modifier they have, and sometime you want to change the behavior, maybe in the status, the particular method. In this way, while they are running applications, the reflection offer those such a set of API. If we're talking about the generally used, so this is the use like the extensibility features. Application may use of external or user defined classes by creating instance or extensibility object are we fully qualified names. That means we has a options, we can create the instance of a particular object, or we can create the, if you know the fully qualified class name at a runtime, you can create the object and the method, set the behavior. And generally these are also used by the any like class browsers or any visual development tools. Okay, like the class browser need to able to kind of show class member. If you have some tools where you are designing to visuals displaying of your class details, so if in this case you have to show all the field names, all the constructor names, so these reflection API help us to figure out the particular details of the particular class. And any visual environments can taking a benefit from using the reflection to show the information like your type information, modifier, and constructors available with particular codes. So these reflection help us in this scenario, and also help us while the debugger and any test tools. Okay, so debugger need to be able to examine the private member of a class, as well as if you have defined some set up a class member, some private maybe member, a variable, a method, you want to at least debug the value of this, so we have to highlight this. So okay, this is the private data member, this is the value. The in general normal application you cannot access the private data member outside of the class in the case of a debugger. So this kind of reflection API help us to examine those the members that generally not by definition wise, the definition wise, that is not accessible to the developer. But this reflection API offers some kind of advanced tools and mechanism by which we can examine and get out the detail about the each and everything related to the particular class. So these kind of some use cases where generally reflections used, and these are the generally uh, benefit. But whenever we are offer some benefit, we have to discuss what kind of a drawback we are getting if we are going to use the reflections. So if we are talking about the drawbacks of a reflections, so first things, reflection is very powerful. That is the no matter something with uh, but should not be used uh, indiscriminately. It is possible to perform operation. So whatever if it is possible to perform an operation without using reflections, then it's preferable to avoid using it. If you can do without reflection particular operations, the general always recommendation you can don't use reflection. So while doing reflections, we should keep in mind when accessing the code via reflection. What are the following concerns we are I'm trying to say we have to keep in mind? First things, always try to avoid the using reflection until without reflection you cannot achieve something. Then you go by the reflections. So first things, whenever you are using reflections, these kind of a drawback we have to face. So we have to keep in mind, if you are using the reflections, you are getting a performance over it, because reflection involve your types are dynamically resolved. So run times, your types of particular variables methods are resolved, and that dynamic resolution sometimes GBM cannot perform some kind of a performance, some kind of optimizations on your code. That is the reason why the reflection of reflective reflection operation have a slower performance than your non-reflection operation. If a same code you write using the reflection, a same you write the non-reflection, so surely reflections code is slower performance than your non-reflection code. So general suggestion is that should be avoid in this section code where you can call frequently performance sensitive application. So if somewhere you need a very critical to the my performance, your request and response within a particular predefined times, so please avoid to use the reflection in that. Sometime you breach the security restrictions, reflections required a runtime permission which may not be present in the running under the security manager. So reflection code always need kind of your permission. At the run times, they are changing the uh, security parameter as well as. So this is the important consideration for the code which has to run in the restricted security context. So please be ensure we have a need kind of a permission while the running the reflection code at run times. Similarly, this is the major things we have to think. Whatever the internal defined in the particular class, that is exposed from the reflections. This is the, you can say, since the reflections allow code to perform operation that would be illegal in the non-reflective code. The some operations that generally avoided, generally prohibited are illegal in the normal Java programming language, but this reflections offer to do those operations as well as, such as if you're talking about the private fields or method, general guidelines such as Java programming language, other than the defined code, you can not access private fields or a method outside of the class. But reflection offers facility this illegal operation you can perform. So whenever you are doing the use of reflection can be unexpected side effect, because you are violating some normal behavior. So which maybe die confusions, die functional maybe destroy the portability, and so reflective code break the abstraction, and therefore any changes behavior with the upgradation of platform. So sometimes what all developer have a concept, we cannot access the private data member, we cannot invoke the private method, but some places you find reflection offer as a we can just perform illegal operation. So this is the you can have power of reflections, but be ensure whenever you are going to use reflections, please be this point in mind. Your application should be slower than comparing to the non-reflection code. You have violating the security restriction, and sometimes the basic principle of Java language, which is the illegal, but that can be exposed. So due to this kind of capability, this reflection API offer, so generally suggested the person who have a good understanding of the language, they can only use. So he know where we can use really reflection. If doesn't matter, don't use. Generally, all the you can say if you're talking about the highly used reflections, if you're talking about the Spring frameworks, any application frameworks, they offer the lots of benefit. They have a heavily used to invoke your constructor. So let us discuss key now how let's key we as want to use this reflection. So what are the places where we can use? So generally, always Java have a anything you write inside the classes. Okay. So first things we have to reflection offer you can examine the particular class. Okay. So in the class how to retrieve the particular class object, you want class object first, and then you want to what kind of modifiers and what kind of types they have, and also discover a class member. A class member, any class member can be, you can send class member have a field, class member have a method, class member have a constructor. So how we can examine and find out all the modifier for that, all other types for that. So these kind of capability at a runtimes reflection API offer you can retrieve for these details. And similarly, if you talking about the fields, the fields can you can field have a types, you want to know type detail, you want to like a retrieving and find the file parse your modifier, or sometimes if you have a particular fields and I want to get the particular value or set the particular value, maybe the private constant variables or a final variables or a, let's in this final variable you cannot reassign any value, but reflection offer a capability you can do, but that is the very risky. This is the violation of your actual principle of the private variable you cannot access outside of the class, but reflection offer you can. So this is kind of a high level of capability of for this reflection. Such times they violate the actual principle of Java language. Similarly, you have a methods. In the method, you can find your method types information. You can find your method parameters. You can find the method names, and you can also retrieve your method modifier and also parse. And the best way you can also invoke runtimes of particular methods. Similarly, we have a concept of constructor. We can file all defined constructor in a particular class, and what are the constructor modifier they have, and we have an option we can create generally classes object of the particular class. Generally till now we have discussed only the new keyword help us to create an object of particular class, but this offer API reflection API offer you can create the object without the new keyword as well as. So these kind of added you can say concept that add the inside your reflection API, so developer should know we can do different approaches they have offer Java language, but not the normal programming language, but they offer in the form of reflection API. Similarly, if we are working on the arrays, so we can also identify the array types and create new array with the reflection API. And we have an option setting and getting arrays and their component as well as. So these kind of concept capability reflection API offer, and we can do. So let us examine the some details and figure out some writers codes and figure out key how we, if you want to use, then how we'll use. Okay, so first we discuss about the classes. What is the classes here? So every types, maybe reference types or primitive types. Okay, or maybe class, or you can talk enum, you can talk array. All are which inherit from your java.lang.object classes, as well as interface, all interface types. So if you're talking about the Java string class, this is the by default. Are all other wrapper classes by default inherit the features of your object class. Okay, so all in say all, you can say reference types or primitive types are directly or indirectly is the sub class or a child behavior, inherited behavior of your object class. If you're talking about the primitive types, so these are the primitive types. Okay, like boolean, byte, short, int, long, and char. So these how we can find for these details something. If you want to find some detail about the your double object, how will do? So first we have to find out the classes for each types. So every types of object, maybe in the JVM, are immutable instance of this class. Okay, this is just like a java.lang.object. Each object is the subclass of your object. Similarly, if you want to every types of object, any types of object we are talking, this is the kind of one instance of your immutable class, like a java.lang.class. Class is the kind of class, okay, which provides the method to examine the runtime property of an object, including its member and its type informations. Okay, so you are trying to say ki this is the class is the class. Okay, this provide class about any object, what are the this member, what are the type information. For any kind of object you want to know, examine the runtime behavior of an object, that what object, what is the object name, what is the access modifier, what is the constructor, what is the field, what is the field types, anything you want to examine at a runtimes. The first you have to get the object of your class itself a class. This all the object of this you can say immutable. So class provide the ability to create a new class and object. So this class offer the facility you can create the new classes and new object for any types. So the most important is the entry a point for all the reflection API. If you want to start your reflection API, first you have to need the class object. Okay, this is a very generic class object. If you want to examine the property a member of any class, for those class you have to create the object of class. That is the kind of immutable instance. Generally all every types of object this class is available, like in, okay, you can say class is the class that offer the runtimes we can figure out the detail of the particular class, a particular object. So java.lang.class, first you need the object of this class. After that you can examine the runtime property of the object, including its member and type information. Each even everything you want to of any object, first you need the class object of that. uh, Let us so first question, how we can retrieve the class object. If there is a class java.lang.Class, so how to get the object of this class? Okay, so first things in the reflection API is going to start. If you have a, let's give one employee object, I want to examine the detailed property of this object at runtimes. The first you have to retrieve the object of that class. Okay, class, this is the java.lang.Class I'm talking for those object. First things, these also kind of different approaches. So let's this the cut how there are several way to get the class depending upon the your code, to which kind of object you are getting. Okay, the have access to an object or the name of class of an existing class. So there is a multiple approach key from where we can create the class object. Okay, these are the generally approach we are talking to creating the class object. First we can do, if you have any object, you have a one generic method known as a get class. You can find the class object or any class. We have option dot class property. In this way you can create the object, or this is the, if you know the complete package name particular class you want to create the class object, this is the class.forName. And similarly if you want to particular types filled up, then any all the wrapper classes if you want, you can use also. And some method also return kind of the class object itself. So these are the different approaches as a Java platform offer. Someone can create the class object for a class. So let us look how we are going to use this object.get instance. Okay, if an instance of your object is available, if you know okay, we have a runtime, we have an object already, we have one object. Okay, at this object I want to examine the the simplest way to get its class to invoke the getClass method. Of course, this work reference types only, because the we are going to invoke the particular method, the particular object should be created before, which inherits this is also inherit from your object. So let us see how to. This is way, if this is your string object and you want to get the class object corresponding, what is the class, and so this is the method you can use the dot get class. Let's see, we have a like any data. Oh, oh, this is the one string object, and you have a method get class. Okay, so you know okay, this is the class you can get, or this is generic manner, or you can specify nothing else here without generic as well as. So now we have a class. This class, this object, a class object, have a offer some benefit you can examine. Get fields, get type name. Okay, so here you can examine what kind of object you have. So this kind of methods. Therefore, this is so this is the you have object, and this object is the your types of strings. Or similarly, let's key you have a writer dot get class, okay, dot get type name dot s out. So you want to know, okay, this is what kind of this t, this is the array. Okay, so you can examine ki this object is the types of a string, or this is the your types of, you can say, array of string. So this class.class offer us this facility. You can know each and everything at the runtimes. The first, for this is the starting point of reflection API. For any object, you have to figure out the class object of its class. So this method getClass is the first point where you are retrieving the class, or this class is offer all the reflections detail. So if you talking this is the your class. Okay, class type tip, and this have some capability which discuss and offer the set of utility method which we can going to discuss some of the frequently used. Okay, so some example here, if let's you have a enum. Okay, you have a enum, you know okay, this is the also one object, this is the one also object. So on this object you want to figure out the class object and get class. Let's you have a array of bytes. Okay, you want to get the class, they return the class. Maybe you know this is the array, so array is, you will figure out the class. Similarly, let's give we have a, like when has one object like your has set object, and here you want to figure out what is the class detail. The first we have to get the get class, and then we have to get out the class. So for any object here, I want to enum object to get a class. I was a array object, then get a class. So any kind of object, maybe enum object, you can apply get class and receive the get class. You have a array dot get class, you receive. Generally array provide a kind of a only property, but they have also kind of one generic method get class. And similarly generally we have a your one customized object like has set. For this you want to class object, so how you can use the excuse me get class method. So this is the starting point. If you want to examine the runtime property or details about any object, first you have to retrieve the class object. Okay, and then we can going to determine. So similarly in this way. So this is the first approach. Sometimes we have option kind of dot class property. One about the, we invoke the method get class. For invoking any method, first we have a valid object. If the particular object is null, you cannot invoke any. You cannot get the class detail. So if the types available, okay, there is a, if there is a no instance, then it is possible to obtain the class by appending the dot class only. So this is the kind of utility offer. The name of types is just look like this is. If you try to say this is the boolean v variable, you want to detail information. I want to runtime examine this by object b, a variable b. So here you cannot apply like get classes. You know, b is the not object, and this is not created new object. So we cannot create the your get class method. This is the compile and throw. But instead of invoking this get method, you can apply append dot class, and now you can get your object. Boolean just like flag. Okay, this is the flag, and here you are trying to say flag dot get class. Get class you cannot do, because this is a primitive, and primitive you cannot have for the get class. So these are the not allowed. So how will do? So if you want to examine this boolean field, so we have a option append obtain your boolean data type dot class. So in this way you can retrieve your class. Here all kind of method you can get out. This is the what detail, what is the field. So these are the way. First, using the dot class way was first way. If we have a valid object, then you can invoke your get class, or sometime you have a not any particular object, then you can just append dot class, and in this way you can also retrieve your class object. So this is the second way to getting the class object. Similarly, here you have a just like any package java.id stream. I want to examine the property of this class, so we have to just append dot class here. Now we are getting the class object. Sorry. Similarly, let's give we have array. You can append dot class, and now we are getting the class object. And here you can examine the detail. So dot class syntax may be used to retrieve the class corresponding multi-dimension array or array of given any types. So whatever the class you want to detail property analysis, just append dot class and you are getting the object of that class. The another approach about to class.forName. Okay, in the generally useful when you the fully qualified name of a class is available. It is possible to get the corresponding class using the static method like a class.forName. Okay, the class provide one static method for name. Here file the qualified name. This cannot use for the primitive types. Okay, we ensure that class.forName is only used for the reference type. Okay, so if you go to the get name, you can detail the name something like here class.forName and specify the complete your class name. Okay, and now this class you are getting class object. From here you can do lots of examination. So class.forName also he help us to class.forName. Here you can pass any object like java.lang. Let's get string. Okay, dot where here you can for name. So these throw exceptions. So we have to handle exceptions. So is what we can say, we can just add uh, signature label or try catch, whatever you feel. So here we have just added your class not found exceptions or class exception. So that this method not through. Now this is your object, and here whatever detail you want dot get name. So here any kind of mm, if you know the complete qualified class name, you can do it. Okay, and sometime if you want some maybe primitive types like wrapper classes, and that how you want to get the complete dot class syntax is a more convenient to preferred way to obtain the class for a primitive types generally we use. But sometime all the wrapper classes like a double have a option kind of method, one method like a type they return the class. Similarly void have a all the wrapper classes offer a kind of a types that help us to class object. So here you have a this is the one way. Boolean is a primitive. If you know the boolean as a wrapper class, have a method like a type. So this type. So in this way you can find your boolean types as well as. Okay, so this is the one kind of type information that return about your class. Okay, so generally till now we have only know bool have some different class. So all the primitives they returns here. So maybe you want to double dot type. Okay, so in this way you can create the class object. For all the primitive, they were kind of a types. A type returns the class of particular wrapper object. So all the wrapper classes provide kind of things. So we have an option. We can use your types attributes of a wrapper classes, or simply just append dot class, and you can get have a both option. You should aware. So this is the way we can get your class object. And after we have a class object, then what kind of class may be offered? So generally, whenever we're talking a class may declare one or more modifier which affect its runtime behavior. Like your access modifier, we have now public, protected, and private. Similarly, modifier maybe override some abstract method or some static instance, or you can some modify the final variable strict ft or some annotations. So these kind of you can types and modifier a class. Okay, not all modifiers are allowed on the class, but some, for example, interface cannot be final, enum cannot be abstract. So depend upon the what's the objective or examine, accordingly these modifier you are getting. How to find this modifier of any class? We have a method class.getModifier. This modifier return the complete what kind of modifier this attributes have. So let's see, we have a kind of huge class object for this methods, but generally what generally use if you want your complete name of the particular class, get canonicals, or you want to modifiers, get modifiers, your type parameters, get type parameter, your generic interface, you get generic interface. You want to find out the super class of this class, get super class, annotation. Sometime you want to create a new object. So this is you can use the your dot new instance, and this way you can create a new instance as well as. So lots of methods this class offer. Okay, this class offer. So as per our use case, we have to explore some of the method and try to get the benefit. So this is the primary fundamental class is about the class. Okay, this class offer to examine the runtime property of an object. You can figure out its canonical name, modifier, type parameter, superclass, annotation. You have to create some instance object. You have to invoke method. You have to find a field. Each and everything you can achieve from this class. Okay, so other methods you can here find. Okay, like let's see that this is here for name. So here you are trying to say for name for fields. Okay, what kind of fields declare, what kind of constructor, what kind of declare methods. These methods help us to figure out each and everything. What is the superclass here you want to know? So what kind of superclass this class have? The you know what is the superclass of this class? Superclass of this class is object. Okay, so this is the string class, this is the string class. What is the superclass name? Superclass name is object. So in this way we can figure out some runtime property of an object. So some what generally this class methods offer. Sometime you want to file fields detail. Okay, so these are the method you can invoke your declare field, or get field, or get declare fields, or fields. So these are the methods. Generally, Hopper you have they have a if you want to let's invoke this method get fields. Get fields return your list of member, yes. Return inherited member, yes. but you private member, no. If you want to uh, use this method get fields, they return all the member, they return all the inherited member, but they not return your private member. If you want to access the private member, you have to use your get declare field. Get declare field not offer this facility, not offer this facility, but they can get your private member. So depend upon the our use case, what the you want to detail about, they want to fill all the field member only, or inherited member or private member. So as per your need, on the register member, inherited member or private member. Different set of API class offer. Okay, we'll look some example as well as. So be aware that if you want to look find the field detail, you can use this method. And similarly, if you want to method detail, some method detail, so we have used similarly declare method, get declare methods, or get method. Similarly, list of member of this class are inherited member or your private member. So if you want to access the private, so you have to use this method for a private access. If you want to only the inherited member or only the class member, you can use these classes, these methods. So this is the richest set of methods offer this class API. Okay, you want to return method, you can just use get declare method or get methods. And similarly, if you want to get the some constructor, locate the constructor, you want to find out the constructor detail. So we have a method like get declare constructor, get constructor, get declare constructors, get constructors, and similarly constructors not inherited the your member, constructor cannot inherit it, so we have not any kind of access available. But yes, member you can access, or maybe this access private constructor can access, public constructor can access. So in this way, depend upon the your situations, you can use these class methods. So let us examine the if how the member interface have been implemented. So for reflections, all accessing the member of any class, so generally they have a implemented one interface member. A member have a some defined some different you can class. Maybe you have a member can be field, member can be method, member can be constructor. So these are the sub actually implemented by this member interface. So class offer you can get the member, and member have a individual implementation. Member can be field, member can be method, member can be constructor, and you can use this object to figure out detail. Let us want to kind of field types. I want to obtaining the particular field types. What is the filter types? So field may be either primitive or reference object. Any class can have a field. So generally there are primitive types, maybe boolean, byte, sort, and maybe reference types. Reference types then can be maybe directly or indirectly are the subclass of your object class, or maybe any interface, or maybe any array, any enum types. So any kind of field types can be. So how you will file the types? So simply they have a offer method. You have a method like your get field. They returns your field. They return a field, and after field they have a method get types, and they were getting a types. What kind of field types? So let us create like my class resource. Let's see, there have some declare field like your int field, one. Similarly, might be you have a declare one field, maybe string object. Multiple field can have a different types. One field maybe have a boolean field 4. So one class can have a multiple folder. So how to access? So simply you are trying to say this is resources dot, just append a class and you are getting a class. Okay, this is your resources class. Okay, and this resources class you can use, and now here you have options dot get fields. You are getting a fields, and here you can figure out all fields. And here yes, you are a field dot get name. Okay, get name, get type, name. So this way, this resources class you have to figure out the field name. So this is the get field. So we have to write maybe some public, maybe some private, maybe some protected. So here you find the field one, public data member. So by default, these fields return all the public data member, and you are also try to say field one dot get type. What is the types? So in this way, you can figure out the field types. The field types is integer. Okay. This way you can lots of other. But you want to uh, this member as well as. So here resources class you are trying to say get declare fields. Okay, and here we just make a and here just try to get your field name, field types. So in this way we you are here you are trying to say this is the complete. So this only return public, but this return get declare fields, they return all. Maybe plus you can say declare dot get modifier. What kind of modifier they have? So this the way here you can find this is the 1 2 3. This kind of 1 3 the meaning of modifier here is defined inside of your somewhere the so uh, we'll discuss key. This is the one two one for the public, two for private, four for protected. In this way, the one particular access modifier is defined. This is somewhere they have been them defined. The one the meaning of public, two is the meaning of different difference. So here get modifiers return this. Okay, this modifier return your field subject. Okay, so field have a modifier. If you look the modifier class, why not jumping? Yes, this go to the modifier. The modifier ever defines what is the modifier for public and for private, for protected. So these are the number they have a defines. So you have to know that these are the number they have defined it. Well, if you have a private, that means one public, one private, protected, static, final, synchronize, volatiles. So these are the kind of some int value is created. So please know, whenever you are trying to say get modifier, and get modifier means you are getting some int value. Internally they map for int one, that is map to private, to one public, two private, four protected, eight static, 10 final, synchronize, volatile, this way. So sometime you have to know lots of this is declares for enum, for annotate, for mandate, this. Okay, so in this way we can get. So here you can say plus name, get name, similarly get types, similarly get modifiers. So you only want to the public part, so you have only used get declares returns the all field 1, field 3, field 4. What you want, just write it 2, that's 3. So you know here we are able to access your private member as well. As why we are using the get declares methods, and these are the modifiers. So whenever you want to any kind of types, you have to either get types, and first get a field detail, and after that maybe we have some generic types. If some methods have a generic, you can use the generic types as well. As from, so here if your class defines some generic, then will return. If not, then not. So depend upon the different kind of situation, what kind of attributes property we want to inherit. So this is generic, no generic, then return the base. So similarly you have options. So there are several modifier we discuss, like your public, protected, and private, similarly transient and volatile, then strict and final. And how will get modifiers. Okay, so get modifiers, so we have used here. This is a get modifier that return the modifier. Okay, and this modifier define the modifier class. This is the modifier 1 for public, 2 for private, 3 for protected, and all others. So we have discussed like these kind of modifiers. First we have to use the get declare fields, means they returns your all the field, and after that you can find maybe your member might be public, protected, private, static, final, whatever things you can figure out here. So first we have to use the get declare fields, and after that we have apply your modifiers. So same I am do here. First I am using the get declare fields, I am getting declare fields, and after that each declare fields we can apply your get types and get modifier. So these way we can examine all the fields modifier as well. As similarly sometime you want to set the value, let's key. Now you know this is the field name, so we can also have options. Given an instance of a class, it is feasible to use the reflection to set the value of the particular fields. This is typically done only in the special circumstances when the setting a value in the usual way not possible. Let's say sometime you want to set the some private data member value, you cannot do, but the reflection offer you can set the any value. maybe public, maybe private, maybe protected. So such you can say such a access usually the violate the designs of intention of the class, but it should be used at most needed. So you have to get the declare field, and we have an option. Each fields have a method like a set. You can set the value. First you pass the object, which object we are going to set, and that's example. Now let we have a one resources uh, resources are equal to new resources. New resources, let's give they have a constructor like all constructor. Let's we have a constructor, and that's we have a true string. Okay, we have a let's give all defining constructor. Maybe you can add the default on the default constructor. Okay, so you have a pass like a first if you your integer number 101, let's key 201, and your second maybe string str 201, and then boolean false, that's true. So these are your object. So if you s out this object, so these are the default value while the constructings they are created. But it's visible key you can change this private data member a string to another value, a string 201 private. Okay, so these are the value they have resource classes. Okay, so this resource object we can do or not. So let us how to do. So this is the first we have to get a class, and then we have to get declare fields, and then we have to set the value. So here this is the resource class. First we have to get the class. So you have Object.getClass. You are getting a class, okay, resource class, and in this resource this resource class you have a method uh, get declare fields. Get declare fields. Which field I want? I know the I want to change this field to. So I say field 2. This is the field 2, and now field 2 have a option to dot set which object I want to set this object. This is the object, and what the new value? Maybe this updated value. Updated. I send the value. After that we'll just try to get this object, and generally this is the kind of power. So here what say generally let's say first I'm commented out. I'm set field, let's key 1 field 1 field 1, and the field 1 dot set value. This is the your resources, and comma this is the field 1 your integer field 1, and the integer let's key 301. So if you in this so in this way you can change the value, but private data member is not allowed to general definition say that does not allow to change access the field private data member. You cannot change, but you want to change, then reflection is the power. They say key field 2 I want to set access equal to true, and down this is the power of your reflection. Through reflection you can change the your private value as well as. So reflection offer us, you can get the any fields, field any fields, field 1, field 2, and they have option to set the value as well as. And setting, you want to source key, I want to set the set accessible true, and after that you can access the private data member as well as. So this is the violation of your concept check. If we this is the private data member, other than within this class this variable can be changed, but outside of this class cannot change, but here we are able to access this variable, we are able to change. Only this is the power of reflection. So how will do it? How we'll do it? First, whatever this object you have, just get a get class method. Now we are getting a class object. This class object offer the get declare field. Which field you want to access? This field or this field or all fields? We have all field as well as. And then we have option set the value. Set the new value. This is the one method kind of set accessible, which help us to offer the reflection API. You can do anything, whatever you want. So please be note, reflection offer some good things, but they are also violate the existing principle. Similarly, what I am discussing here, let's this is your let's give some final variable. Let's what say, let's give we have a declare one private and final. Private final. Okay, let's key any integer number. Okay, 4. Okay, so let's key initially I decline this is the 999 is the final variable. Okay, and let's write a constructor so that key each one should okay private public alt insert constructor. Okay, say let us this is the in this this is the default equal to. Okay, then you have an option, you can get all constructor. Okay, so whenever object created, so here we have to pile some default value. First object may be 808 and now run it. So here what I was trying to say, this is the final value 8. Can we change this final value after object creation? Generally say no. Let's I want to access this let's key this is my resources class. I want to say get field, I want to field 4, I want to this is the field 4, I want to field 4 and we have options. This I want to set accessible true and I will see the this is the no integer new value your let's key 555. If you just comment out this field 4 if you run it, it will say ki final field can not be updated, so final field cannot be accessed. Okay, so and this is way you are allowed to access. Let's say no such field. Get field. What field I am accessing? Field 4. Field 4 final. Field 4. Spelling mistake. Field. Okay, no such field. This is the no such field and declare inside the constructor. Okay. Field resources. This is the field 4. This is the field 4. Get field name. You are getting a 4 field. Yeah, that should be. Okay, this is the you can say this is the field. In the field you can only access the your public, but this is the want to kind of a so here you have to use your declare field so that you can access all the field public private modes. So and here you can set. Now you can change the value. So generally final value is once the object is created, this say key I'm final, this value should be the same, but we are able to change due to the reflection. So reflection offer us we can change the value, change access the private data member. So this is the kind of things. So whenever say similarly declare fields or whatever the this is the your B field you want to first we are getting a class. This is your this is the class. You can create the object of class. This is the object you want to examine. First get a class object, and after that you get declare field. After field you can change the value. Your object, which object you want to change, what is the new value, and this is for your like a private modification, a final modification you want to set accessible true. If I want to comment out to this key final variable value cannot be modified. Yes, okay, simple cannot okay, final cannot be modified, but you say this and this is allow. So this is the kind of a power of your reflection. So this is the to an access restriction exists with the final field, and after set get initialization, so field declare with the this accessible object, and they have a method like set accessible. Due to that, we are able to do. Okay. So similarly, till now we have a study about how to retrieve the field and how to get modifier, how to get a type, how to get a change the value, yes, set the value. Similarly, we have a method. Then we can examine the method behavior. So method contains the executable code which may be invoked. So methods are inherited in a non-reflective code behavior such as overloading, overriding, method adding are compiled and enforced. So in the contrast, reflective code make it possible to for a method select to be restricted on a specific class without considering it's a superclass. Superclass method may be accessed, but it's possible to determine their declaring classes. This is impossible to discover the programmatically without reflection. So in this kind of bug you can get. So lots of flexibility offer here as a method level. So how to find the methods? So let us they have a declare methods, and you can apply like return types, parameter types, exception type. These kind of help you do. Similarly, declare some methods. Let's key public void method 1. method 1, or simply say setter getter. I can generate. Okay, these are the okay. And here you say we have a resources dot get declare fields, declare methods. Declare methods and declare methods. And here you can dot get name. So all the method you are getting a name. So lots of here you are getting all method name. Similarly, dot get return type. So lots of methods available. You will get all have return types. Dot get your parameter types. So lots of methods help us to find your method name, parameter name, your return types. So these are the method names. So here your method name this is the here your int byte field 1, get 1, set 1, boolean, void. These are the kind of syntax you will get. So these are the some different kind of methods offer. So if you want to like your modifier, similarly one each and every similarly there's several method may be part of a declaration, like your access modifier method can be might be static or maybe final, maybe abstract, asynchronous. Lots of method can be. So these information you can also access from your get modifier. Let's see here, say as this where method at get modifier, get modifiers. This help us to find all the modifiers. So all are the public, they are getting 111. But let's some are the private, then you can get the private as well as. Let's field 4 is the get method is the kind of a private. Private. Let's this is kind of a protected. So different modifier of in the class you can figure out at runtime. What methods and what is the modifier. So these are the different. Similarly, let's key generally methods always invoke. Can we invoke the method or not? So we have options. Reflection provides a mean invoking a method of any class. This is typically done if not so possible to the cast instance of this desired. So we have a method invoke. So invoke method take some argument. The first argument would be the object instance on which the particular method is invoked, and so always pass the first argument to your object, and so that particular if take some parameter, then second argument to the list of parameters. And if you know the some static method, the first argument should be null. For the static method is invoked from class name, no need object. So here example, let's key we have a one any class. First you can just get the declare method, and from this method you can invoke your just invoke and pass your kind of input argument, whatever input argument they needed, and we have to set accessible true. So here let's say here I have a reflection object, and here from reflection object this is reflection object. Let's say I want to invoke the method. So in generally we can do from uh, reflection as well as no. Here I have to declare method, uh, declare method, uh, uh, after that dot invoke dot invoke an object. Let's give I have a resources object I want to invoke. In this way we can invoke, but they are invoked inside a loop. You are invoking all methods, some parameter take argument, so you have to pass. So we have to ensure which methods you are going to invoke. Okay, so let us just come out here. Just want to instead of dot get declare methods. Okay, get declare methods, method name you can pass here. Which method I want to access? Let's see, I want to access this field one method, private methods, invoke. Okay, field one, and this method have a invoked windows object, resources object. So it is the cannot access the member, so you have to this get field one dot select accessible true. So whatever method you want to access or invoke, you can invoke. If okay, you have to invoke. So let us just go outside the inside method. I just write some uh, s out private this method is called invoked. Okay, and you want to just maybe what the return value say the returning s out the return value, and you just so you can invoke the any method. This is your method name, and now this is the your private method. What is the return value? The 301. So this is all for just get declare method, and this is the private method. You can invoke the public method as well as. Let's give I want to set to this. They have a, like another invoke the like which parameters. Let's key I want to this is the get, and I want to this invoke. I want to use the this method to set, like here I want to yes. Okay, what is the invoked, and then let's key I want to know this method. So you say this is the reflection object dot get declared. I want to invoke this method. Your cell field one method that take one argument. Okay, okay. dot okay set field1, and after that you have to set accessible true, and after that you have to invoke this is which object you want to invoke. This is the object, and here I want to pass the parameter like your integer dot value of 444, and then just check. So this is the no such method. Okay, here okay no such method. From here no such method. So oh sorry field1, why you are getting a field1? That's the set field1. This is the method name which we have to invoke. Set field1 method take one argument, we primitive int. So invoke resources dot any integer value. You have to pass kind of new integer value resources. Here is field set field1 true, your resources class get declare method. This is the method name. Okay, okay. Where is this? This is out set field1 dot get name, or it's feasible or not. No, line number 61 give me the problem. This line, this method get declare set one. Why this set one field not no such method? Set field1, oh set field1 no such method. So why set so here check your field one. This is the get row. Here come all the fields here. Your toString method set field 2. This is the set field 2, set field 1. This is the return type white. This is the method set field 1, set field 1. This is the method. This should run. In anyhow, this is the kind of a reflexer. What are the I'm doing faulty here? Get declare methods class 1 get declares get. Let's try to this method. It works or not. It works. Why not field 2? What is happened with this? What is this? Is the protected data member? Okay. Let's try to set another method like public. Try to set field 2. No. If you say get works. That means they are only say returning a getter method. You can use not setter. You can invoke setter method or not invoked. So let's to show they have a return kind of white. So we have to explore. I will update how we'll get the setter method as well as. Okay, but we have maybe we have to some different API. So in this way, finally, this you can say invoke method. We can invoke any operator, and what is the this is the second argument. What the methods are you are going to call here in this case of our private method boolean set this local. So this way we are invoking this method. Okay, first we are declaring all the methods, and from that we figure out this method and pass this parameter whatever you want, and this is the set parameter. Okay, so here what we do, so in this way we can invoke the particular methods. Okay, like get declare methods, any other methods name get declare fields, get methods like this is one dot get method name like that's field to south. For setter should be some different mechanisms to get the setter method. Set field set all the public. So this is the way we have to look. This is the separate different method they expose about how to get set method as well as their setter method. Okay. So let us move to the next. So we have to access. You can include the private. Similarly, you can just set this variable. In this way, you can help us. So similarly, let's we'll discuss about the constructor. Like we have to access the field, access the method, invoke the method, invoke the particular constructors. So similarly, the constructor is also member. So certain object you can create the object using the class object itself. So you can see sometime. So you notice the constructor is the never inherited. Okay. So look like operation required to initialize the before a particular method invokes like a fields and particular fields are initialized. So generally we are writing the constructor to initialize the map. So if you want to access the find out what kind of constructors the particular class have a declare, so we have to get from a reflection as well as. So like here we have a declare constructors and parameter types you can figure out like resources one class. Here you are trying to set get get declared constructors. Okay, and here declare constructor, and here you have options out constructor dot get names, and this way you are able to find all the constructors defined in this class. So first we have to comment it out this code. So this is the your two constructors are in. So let's plus declare constructor dot get net. which parameter count, the one argument constructor, two argument constructor. In this way we have figure out this is the zero argument constructor, this is a four argument constructors. So in this way find out key what kind of constructors they have. Similarly, now we have options. We can create the creating the new class. So how will create new class using the some one class.forName, and after this class you have option to create a new instance. The constructor is used to create the object. This is the another way to creating the constructor, or get constructors and then dot create new instance. So we have options here. This is the class. Here you have a option dot new instance. Okay, and the here new object is created for the your default argument 00 constructors. So this is the way your object is created. Or this way you can write simply write take a variable, and here you can s out resources one. Okay, so generally this is the uh, way you can create the own object as well as with the help of without a reflection class, get a class, and that get instance. Similarly you can say a resources dot class dot new instance. Okay, in this way you can create the object without new keyword as well as. So these are the some different mechanisms from where you can get the constructors and invoke. Or you can try to say resources dot class dot get constructors, get constructors in this way as well as. So these are some other options like here. This is the what we discussed class dot new, where we can invoke only the zero argument constructor. If the zero argument constructor can invoke this way, and the constructor that new instance may invoke the constructor regardless of number of parameters. Okay, and this is the class dot new instruction can throw exceptions, and similarly class dot new instance require the constructor by a instance method get new instance maybe invoke the private constructor circ, so they can invoke the private constructor as well as. If you go here and just go here and try to see private, just test out private constructor. Now just try to run this. Okay. So this is the private not allow. So what you do instead of writing this, you say first guess resources dot class dot take an variable, and here say I want to set get declare constructor, declare constructor, here, and here say this is the let's first test out for loop for, and just constructor dot set accessible true, true, then constructor dot new instance, but here we have to invoke default argument constructor. Then how to just first trace out which constructor first. uh, the count, get parameter count. Okay, and if you say no, this is the default count equal to 0, so here what you say, constructor dot set accessible true, and then constructor dot new instance. This is the zero argument constructor, one argument constructor. So this is the private constructor, in this way, this is the one argument constructor, two argument constructor, four argument constructor that you have to pass. Okay, so we can as a reflections we can just set your accessible true and invoke the private constructor. This is the private constructor invoke. You here you can get the, here you want to just object resources one, just null, and then here you can assign resources one. Object, and you have to here I have to question mark instead, here I have to typecast. So if you run it, so we have a kind of multiple options. Now you can invoke default constructor as well as, and this is the way. First you get the declare constructors and define which constructor default argument, set accessible true, and invoke your default argument constructors in new instance and get method. So we have options to get, so these kind of methods use. Similarly, like here, with same example I had demonstrated, this is the one class deny, they have a private constructor. So here you can just get the declare constructors, and after that you just set accessible true and new instance. In this way you can create the object that is a private constructor outside of the class as well as. So this is the power of reflection, which you can say help us to create an object. Okay. So next, similarly, all the places where you are trying to access some private data members or final data member, we have to uh, change this set accessible method is equal to true false, And this, if you notice that this class is this method defined inside this class. Okay, constructor is constructor your executable, and this is the your uh, class which define this method. So any class, any like a field constructor methods generally extended behavior from the accessible object. An accessible object is the method like just set accessible permission true and false. If you have a setting a true, that means this kind of happen. So we have to be ensure we can this set accessible method come from accessible object, and where we have option set of flag true and false. So this is the from today at least we what we till now covered. First, you reflection API offer a set of rich API where the general programming cannot access. Like here, first we have to start your reflection object. You need the class object. Okay, this class object from the object which you want to analyze as a runtime, you can just append dot class name dot class or get class. In this way we can get the class object. From this class object you can invoke, you can get constructor, you can get field, you can get method. On each method level you can invoke or set value or get value. These are the kind of helping method also. So please before going to use reflection API, please you know that they have some advantage, then they have some drawback. Your application should be behave compared comparably very slow compared to your normal application code. So please be sometime you want to invoke the particular method with a reflection, you can do invoke. We want to access the some private constructor, some private variable, modify the final value, which are generally not feasible in the normal Java language, but you can do from your reflections API. Reflection API offer you can do, but you know this is the drawback. This is the you can violating the some rule. Your application is also going to the solo. So this is a not more recommended way to always use the reflection, but as a developer you should know somewhere I want to change the some particular instance of some instance final value should be the different for the different scenario. You can use the some places where you need to access some private constructor, access some final variable, access some private method, want to set some private value. So in those scenario you can sometime a particular class declare some private method, you cannot invoke that method from outside. So that those method can be invoked the particular situation using the reflection. So reflection offer as a tool the situation where you can use, but general guidelines don't use reflection just for sake I want to invoke the method through reflection. Reason is that this is slower your application performance. So if your application is performance sensitive, so please avoid using reflection. But as a developer we should have Java as a platform offer this capability. You can examine the all the behavior of a class at runtimes. If you only know the class name, you can find the all the default method, all the default constructor, all the variables, what are the modifier, what are the access control. You can even access the all the access modifier field or method or constructor. Even you can create the object, even you can create invoke the method as well as set the field value as well as. So all the functionality operations on the particular class object you can perform from the reflection itself. So for your awareness, this kind of very handy tools available under some situation you can use, but rarely you try to use. But as a developer, as a Java developer, this is our responsibility. What the Java platform as a capability offer, we should know this kind of capability Java have offer. The- okay, you cannot say private data member cannot access outside. Can, but the rare situation. But this is just a violation of your general Java programming language guidance. Okay, so here again I'm like to say thank you for watching this video.